The Holy Fathers of the First Ecumenical Council of Nicaea that actually wrote the beginning of the Creed, and I will talk about them and their work in the morning in the homily. We also celebrate today St. Columba of Iona, and he was a spiritual child of St. Patrick of Ireland, who crossed the sea with a small group of monks to establish a missionary monastery in northern Great Britain, in the Scotland area, which at that point was occupied by the pagan Scots and Picts. And he eventually spawned out numerous monasteries in northern Great Britain, in Scotland in particular. He was once captured by one of the pagan groups, and only through prayer and a miracle of God did they return him, because they decided he wasn't worth the trouble, because God made it so hard on him. I had the opportunity when I was in seminary to visit his monastery. A group of Presbyterians under the leadership of George MacLeod, a Presbyterian minister in Scotland, and Ralph Norton, in order to preserve the heritage, created the Iona community, in which they worked to restore the monastery and also to restore the forms of worship, like in Vespers and Compline and all. And I was there as a student in seminary for a week, and was able to be in the services. They were completing the last work of restoring the monastery. It was a Celtic monastery, and there's a beautiful Celtic cross that's still there from the days of St. Columba. And I wasn't much help. I was a hod carrier, because I wasn't a gifted stonemason, because they were actually using local stones to rebuild the monastery, just like they use local stones in Greece to restore the Parthenon. And but Columba was a great missionary saint who preserved the monastic life, and at the same time he and his fellow monks converted the Scots and the Picts to Christianity, to Celtic Christianity, because they were before the time that the Roman Church forcibly got rid of Celtic Christianity and restored the Gregorian Mass to Wales and Scotland and Ireland. But anyway, we also celebrate today Cyril, the Patriarch of Alexandria. And Alexandria was the second most important city in his day after Rome. Constantinople had not, even though Constantine had established, had not grown to the point where it was as big or as intellectually rich as Alexandria. He was selected as a patriarch when Theophilus died, an elderly patriarch, and he was from a noble family in Alexandria and was chosen as a patriarch. And he was in battle for most of his patriarchy. The first period was with the Novatians, and that was following a priest, Novatius, who was insisted that second marriages were illegal, that you only married once. He also insisted that you couldn't pray for anybody who committed a serious sin of any kind. And so it turned Christianity into a non-forgiving kind of faith in terms of people that committed mistakes and errors. And he was successful in defeating the Novatians and to maintain that marriage was allowed a second and third time in a penitential way under the blessing of the church, and that that you prayed for people who had sinned, even people who had made major sins. You prayed for them as children of God if they were penitent and restored. He also had a problem with the Jews, because the Jews had a major colony in Alexandria, and they were so furious with Christians as a sect of Judaism that they crucified Christians, they executed them in various ways. And he finally got the Roman emperor, Christian emperor at that time, to send troops to actually abolish the Jews from Alexandria so the Christians could live in peace and safety. And the third thing that he dealt with was the Nestorian heresy. Nestorius insisted that Christ was a creature of God and not a person of God. And so he insisted that when we prayed, we did not call Mary the Theotokos, but the Christotokos, because she wasn't a mother of God. She wasn't a bearer of God, but only a bearer of Christ the Son. And he actually chaired the Third Ecumenical Council, because Celestine, the Pope of Rome, who should have chaired it, was elderly and unable to travel, and so Celestine appointed him to chair the council, which had rigorous debates and eventually condemned Nestorius and his faith as heresy, and restored the authenticity of Jesus as one of the three persons of the Holy Trinity. And so we celebrate Cyril. He died peacefully after a long and tough, rigorous, combative life in 444 as one of the great patriarchs of Alexandria. Glory to thee, O Christ, our God and our hope. Glory to thee, Lord.